what we are going to talk about today is the PHP operator types. When we are talking about operator, there are various types of operators, and PHP language supports the following type of operator. We have the arithmetic operator, the comparison operator, the logic operator, the assignment operator. So let's start by talking about the arithmetic operator. There are following arithmetic operators supported by PHP language. Let's say, for example, now you have a variable. You have a variable A, you store 5 inside it, and you have another variable B, you store 10 inside it. So you can create another variable C and say variable A plus variable B. So right now what we are trying to say is that we are trying to store the value of addition of variable A and variable B inside variable C. So if we say that echo variable C, now what we are trying to say is that it should echo the results inside, that is the value that is now inside C. Remember, the value inside A is 5, the value inside B is 10. So right now we have do a simple calculation here now by saying A plus B, which is 5 plus 10, making 15. That means our C now is what? Is 15. So when we say echo 15, then 15 is going to come out. So let's see. So I've saved it like that. Then I'll run my program. Can you see 15 is already out. 15 is already out. So what we are trying to see right now is this addition that I use here now is what we refer to as an operator, and the type of operator that it is what we refer to as the arithmetic operator. So apart from plus, we have another operator which is the minus. So these are just used when you are doing your calculation in PHP. Maybe you want to calculate some things in PHP, you make use of arithmetic operator. So another operator that we have is the minus. So right now our A is 5 and our B is 10. Then 5 minus 10 will give you what? Minus 5. So we are expecting that by the time we echo C now, it will give us what? Minus 5. So let's see. By the time you refresh your page, can you see? You see something like minus 5. So another thing that we have is what? Is a multiplication. So we make use of our asterisk whenever you want to multiply in PHP. Asterisk. So multiplication also is an operator. This is the operator for multiplication in PHP. So asterisk is so what are we expecting now? We are expecting 5 times 10, 50. We are expecting 50. Can you see 50? So when you use asterisk is an operator, or is a multiplication operator in PHP. So another arithmetic operator that we have is a backslash. And what is backslash? What does this stand for? Backslash stands for division. You understand what division means? So if we say 5 divided by, let's see what we give us. What the result to give us? 5 divided by 10. Let's see what's going to give us. 5 divided by 10. So let's refresh our page. We have 0.5. So if 5 divided by 10 is going to give us 0.5. So this is just, you make use of arithmetic operator when you are doing calculation in PHP. So another thing that I'm going to talk about is the modulus operator. You may have heard about what we mean by modulus operator before in other programming language, but in case you've not heard what modulus operator means, it simply means remainder. It simply means if you are dividing two things, whatever the remainder it gives you after you divide those two things, whatever the remainder that you have is what we refer to as the modulus. So if you say 7 divided by 5, right now if you divide 7 divided by 5, what you have? You have 1. Remainder what? Remainder 2. So this 2 is what we refer to as modulus. So another example is if you say 9 divided by 8, then when you divide 9 divided by 8, what you have 1. Remainder what? Remainder 1. So this one that you have what is a modulus. So in short, if somebody say 9 modulus, what is the modulus symbol? The modulus operator symbol in PHP is this sign. If somebody say 9 modulus 8, what the person is simply telling you is that 9 divided by 8, it will give you 1. Remainder what? Remainder 1. So that means the modulus is what? Is 1. So another example, if somebody say that 7 modulus 7 modulus 4. 7 modulus 4. So you first say 7 divided by 4 is what? Is 1. Remainder what? Remainder 3. So the modulus is 3. So that's just what we refer to as modulus. So let's say this one is 15 now, and this is 9. So if we say a modulus $b, this is the modulus sign. This is the modulus sign. So what we are simply trying to say is that if a is divided by b, what remainder will it give us? So the remainder is what referred to as the modulus. So 15 divided by 9 is going to give us what? It's going to give us 6. So that means when we see our output now, our output should be what? Should be 6. Because if 15 divided by 9, we are going to have 1 remainder, what? Remainder 6. And I've told you that modulus means remainder. So that means 6 is what the output you are going to have. So that's just about modulus. Can you see? 6. Going to have 6. So another thing that we have is the increment. What the increment operator does is, you can see this is the example. I've been giving you the example with theoretical as the example with the theoretical code. $a $b modulus $a $b divided by $a. So if you want to write increment sign, just put $a plus plus. So the increment operator, what it does is it increases integer value by 1. So if you say $a is equals to 10 before, and you now say $a plus plus, then it's going to increase that 10 to what? 11. So your result will be what? Be 11. And we have under that value, we have the decrement. Decrement decrease integer value by 1. So if your if the variable is maybe 10 before, by the time you use the decrement sign, you are going to have 9. It's going to divide the value by 1. So that's just all about the arithmetic operator. So you make use of them when you are working with your calculation. So another operator that we have, another type of operator is what we refer to as the comparison operator. So PHP also supports comparison operator, and one example of the comparison operator is what? Is the equal operator. So let's see how this works. Right now we said a equals to 15 and b equals to 9. So let's write a statement. Note something. When we are dealing with a comparison operator, you are dealing with a statement. You are dealing with whether something is true or something is false. Like when we talk about the arithmetic operator, we know that we only is the kind of operator or is the kind of operator that we use when they are the operator, the arithmetic operator are the operator that we use when we are dealing with our calculation, our normal calculation, like plus, minus, modulus, remainder, all those kind of calculations. We make use of the arithmetic operator. But when we are talking about the comparison operator, we make use of comparison operator when we are trying to compare things together. When we are trying to compare that, is this thing equals to this, or is this thing greater than this, or is this thing not equals to this? So when we are dealing with comparison, we make use of comparison operator. So this is the example. A equals to 15 now, B is equals to 9 now. So we can write a statement, a comparison statement that says that if $a, remember, is a variable, is equals to $b. If $a is equals to $b, then if the statement is true, run whatever code is inside this curly brackets. Else, if the statement is not true, run whatever code that is inside this bracket. So what we are trying to say is that if this statement is true, whatever code that you place inside this place is going to run. Else, that is, if this statement that is up here, if it's not true, whatever you place inside this curly bracket, the one down here, is going to run. So right now, if A equals to B, normally ask yourself, is A equals to B? Is 15 equals to 9? No. Then this statement is not going to run. Whatever you place inside here will not going to run. Then what will run? This space is going to run. So let's just say echo x echo y. So what are we expecting? We are expecting y. We are expecting y as our result, because A is not equals to B, and we have said if A equals to B, if the statement is true, it should run this code. But if the statement is false, it should run whatever is inside this curly brackets. But now the statement is not true, the statement is false. Then it's going to run what is inside this curly bracket. And what is that? Y will be our result. So if you save this now, we are going to have Y. So refresh your page. Can you see? You have Y. So you have Y already. So that's just equals to, that is if A is equals to B. So let's now say 15. Let's use 15 also here. If A is equals to B, is A equals to B now? A is equals to B. Then if the statement is true, it's going to run whatever is inside this curly bracket. Else, if the statement is false, it's going to run whatever is inside the curly bracket. But now A is equals to B, then the statement is true, and it's going to run what is here. So what we have X. So that's just about the conditional statement. Can you see? And we are making use of the equals to operator. Then another operator that we try is the not equals to. I believe not equals to is an opposite of equals to. So this shouldn't be a problem. So let's just use this. What we are trying to say is that if A is not equals to B, if this statement is true, that is, if A is not equals to B, if this statement is true, it should run whatever code that is inside this place. Else, if the statement is true, it should run whatever is inside this place. Then now, is A not equals to B? The statement is false. Then it's going to run this place. So our result will be what? Will be Y. Try to get me. Don't get me wrong. What I'm trying to say right now is, if $A is not equals to $B, if A is not equals to $B, if this statement is true, that is, say A is not equals to B, if the statement is true, it should run whatever inside this curly bracket. Else, if the statement is not true, it should run whatever is inside this bracket. But right now, look at our statement. A is 15 and B is 15. So we now say if A is not equals to B, are they not equal? They are equal. So that means this statement is false, because the statement is trying to say that if A is not equals to B, whereas they are equal. But if you know that if they are not equal, it's going to run this. That means that if this statement is true, that is that they are not equal, then it's going to run this. Else, if the statement is false, it's going to run this. But now the statement is false because A is equals to B. So right now, if A is not equals to B, we expect it to run this line of code. If A is not equals to B, we expect it to run this line of code. But now that A is equals to B, then it's going to run this. So what we are going to expect? We are going to expect Y. Y will be our output. Y will be our output. Can you see? So that's just echo. You can put anything there. I just name it X and Y so that you understand it. You can put anything you want to put. You can put A is greater than B, A is equals to B, A is not equals to B. You can put anything inside it. So just practice them yourself so that you have not knowledge. So another thing I will try under the comparison operator is greater than. If A is greater than B, that's why if this statement is true, it should run this. Else, if the statement is false, it should run this. But now, is it greater than B? A is not greater than B. Then the statement is false, and it's going to run this. So we are still going to see Y, because A is not greater than B. So we are still going to see Y. Can you see? We are still going to see Y, because A is not greater than what? Is not greater than B. Let's now say this one is 150. A is 150 and B is equals to 15. We now say if A is greater than B, if the statement is true, it should run this. But note, is A greater than B now? 150 to 15. A is greater than B now. Then the statement is true. It's going to run this. Then we will have X as our output. Can you see? X is our output. So just try all this yourself. This is the lesser than, the greater than equals to, the lesser than equals to. So just try this yourself. Then another thing that we are going to talk about is the logical operator. There are following logical operators supported in PHP. The AND operator, the OR operator, the logical AND operator, the logical OR operator, the logical NOT operator. So let's see how this works. The logical AND operator. Let's see how it works. this is mathematics, so this is under the logical operator. So let's see how it works. Let's take the first logical operator, and let's say if A is greater than B and $B is lesser than $A. So we'll use the AND operator here. What we are trying to say is that if these two statements, if they are true, you should run this. When we use AND operator, we are trying to say that if what we have here, and just like when we use AND operator or when we use any logical operator, it's just like a construction. It's like we are trying to join two statements together. This statement A and this statement B. If we want to join these two statements together, we are going to use a logical operator. So what we are trying to say is that if when we use AND operator, it means if this and this, if these two statements are true, it should run this place. Else, if they are false, it should run this place. Let's make they are true. $A is greater than $B. Is that not true? $A is greater than $B. Is that not true? 150 is greater than 15. So this statement is true. And $B is lesser than $A. Is 15 not lesser than 150? Then that means all the statement is what is true. Then if the statement is true, we are going to see X as our result. But assuming these two statements are not true, what will we see? We are going to see Y as our result. But now that this statement is true, we are going to see this as our result. So we are expecting X. There's an error in our program. What's the error? Sorry, I think I should place this in brackets. So sorry, the mistake we made the other time is the AND operator also has to be in brackets. So what will happen is if you want to use this, you have to first what we have before is this. So AND can just be here. So that means you have to say if, whenever you have any if statement, it has to be inside this bracket, the if statement. So but right now AND is just ordinarily, so you have to place them inside the bracket. That's the mistake we made. So let's run this program. So what we are trying to say right now is that if these two statements that we join with the logical operator AND, if they are true, it should run this. But if they are false, it should run this. But now A is greater than B and B is greater than A. These two statements that we join with AND clause is true. These two statements, they are true. So that's why we are going to have X as our output. So let's see what we have. S. Can you see S? We have S now. So that means our mistake the other time is that we didn't put these brackets. So whenever you are using logical operator, just note it. Make sure they are inside the brackets. So that is just the AND operator because it's true. So let's change something now. Let's say $A, $B. I told you for this statement, for all these statements to be true, then that means these two statements must be true when you are using AND operator. For everything that is here to be true, when you are using AND operator, each of these statements must be true. So right now, if you use A and B now, $A is greater than $B, we know that. And $A is lesser than, is $A lesser than $B? No. So since one of these statements is not true, then all these statements is not true one here. So that means this statement is false. Then we are going to see Y as our result now. Because in this example now, A is not lesser than B. So this statement is not true. So but this statement, this one is true, but this one is not true. So since one of them is not true, then everything is not true here when you are using an AND construction, when you are using AND logical operator. So if one of them is not true, then that means everything is not true. So since this statement is not true, what are we going to have as our result? We are going to have Y as our result, since A is not lesser than B. So let's run it and see our output. Let's refresh the page. Can you see? Y. So that means the statement is not true. So that's just about the AND operator. So the other operator that we have is the OR operator. So instead of AND now, let's use OR. let me change this to $b and a. So when you use or operator, what we are trying to say is this: for all these statements to be true, one of these two statements must be true. Not like AND operator that the two statements have to be true. This time around, when you use OR operator, for all these statements to be true, one of these statements must be true. It does not concern if the two are true, but one have to be true. Look at it right now. A is greater than B. Is it greater than B? Yes, that one is true. Look at this. B is lesser than A. Is B lesser than A? Is true. Although the two are true, then if the two are true, it's going to run this. Even though it's one that is true there, it's still going to run this, because if one has run, whenever you are using the OR construction, that is, you are using the OR logical operator, when one of the statements is true, all the statement is true. That's the meaning. Remember, when you are using OR constructor, when one of the statement is true, all the statement is believed to be what? Is believed to be true. But assuming you are using AND, all the statement has to be true. Each of all the statement has to be true before you say that all the statement is true. So what I'm trying to say is that this one, when you are using OR constructor, one of these two statements has to be true before all this equation, all the statements be true. So now, but in this example now, this is true and this is true. Then all your statement is what? Is true. Even though it's one of these statements that is true, since you use OR, everything is called to be true. So right now, if all this is true, then you say X. Else, if it's not true, you say Y. But now, if all this thing is true, then what we have is what? X as our result. Can you see? X as our result. But we know that this is true now. Let's change it to A is lesser than B. Is A lesser than B? We know that this place is false. But since we are using OR constructor, when we are using OR, one of the two statements has to be true. That is, one of these two statements has to be true, and this one is true. One of them is already true. Well, that means all our statement is true here. So that means we are still going to have X as our result. Since we are using OR, but assuming you are not using OR, you are assuming you are using AND now, this statement is false, because for AND, whenever you are using AND constructor, the two statement has to be true. But in this example now, it's only one, it's only this statement that is true. So if you are using AND, then you know it is false. What you are going to have as a result will be Y. But now that we are using OR, we said the definition of OR is what? One of the statements, one of them just have to be true for the whole statement to be true. Since this one is true now, that means the whole statement is true here. So one of them has to be true for everything to be true. So since this one is true now, and that means all the statement is true, then our result will be this. Because we said that this section of this block of code here now runs when your statement is true. Else, whatever that is here now runs when your statement is false. Since one of these statements is true, that means all this statement is true here. That means what we are going to have is what? Is X. So let's move. So that's just about all statement. Can you see? X. That's just about all statement. Another thing that we have is the logical AND operator. We have the logical OR operator and we have the logical NOT operator. So I believe you can try this example yourself. I've already explained to you, so you can try that. So another thing that we have is the assignment operator. You already know this. The assignment operator, example of the assignment operator is just single is equals to. So, and I believe I've already been using this. Look at this one. What I use now, this operator that I use right now is what we refer to as the assignment operator. When you say A is equals to 150, that is, you are creating the variable and you are storing the value inside it. You use the assignment operator to store a value inside a. Whenever you want to store a value inside a variable, we make use of the assignment operator, like saying that $d is equals to 5. So that means we store the value of 5 inside the $d, making use of the word, the assignment operator. It's not only is equals to that is the assignment operator. Other thing that we have is AND assignment operator. It's add left operand to the right. So when you use the AND assignment operator, look at it now. when we use the AND assignment operator, let's say $C equals to $A plus, let's use the AND assignment operator, $B. Look at it now. What happened is this: $B is going to add to $A, and it will be stored inside $A. That's the meaning. So if you say, let's echo $A now, echo $A, let's say, it's not $C that we are echoing $A. Can you see? $A is what? Is now 165. So when you use the AND assignment operator, what we are trying to say is this. Look at it now. Normally, if you say, okay, let's not use $C. Let's just use this. Normally, you can say $A equals to $B. But that means the value of $A now will not be equals to what we have in value of $A. That means our $A equals to what? 15 now. Normally, $A is 150 now, but now we are saying $A equals to $B. Then that means we are changing the value that is there before to what? To $B. What is $B? 15. And then if you say equal $A now, what are we saying? We are saying our A now is what? Is 15. But if we use the AND assignment operator, what we are trying to say is this: we are trying to say that you should add $B inside $A. So this time around, we are not just assigning, because if we assign, look at the difference between assign and the AND assignment operator. There is difference between the assign and the add assign operator. Let's just assign. If we say assign, now we are trying to say that $A is no longer this 150. We are trying to say $A is no longer 150 now. It's no longer 150. It's now what? It's now equals to 15. That's the meaning of this. So let's echo $A and see our result. Guys, $A is now 15. Because remember, when we are talking about PHP that time, we told you that when you declare a variable and later you now add another value to it, it will override that value that is there before. Normally A is 150 before, but now that we are saying that A is now equals to B, then that means A is now equals to the value of B. That means this 150 will no longer be there again. The value of B now will not be what? 15, because we have said A is equals to what? B. We have said the value that is inside B now is now equals to what is inside A. So that means we are trying to say that A has an override of this 150. What's now the value of A now? The value of A now is now what? Is now B, because you have assigned, before you assigned A equals to 150. But now you have changed that assignment. You have changed A now to what? To B. And what is B? B is 15. So our A now is 15. That's why you have your output as 15. But you should not be using assignment operator. If we make use of the AND assignment operator, this time around is not ordinarily equals to. We are using plus equals to B. What this one is just trying to tell us is that it's trying to tell us that now our A should be addition of B. So normally now A is 150 before. But as we use ordinary is equals to, we are trying to remove this 150 that value. We are trying to put 15 inside it. We are trying to put B inside it, 15 inside it. But right now, if we use the AND assignment operator, what we are trying to say is that we are trying to say that add the value of B inside A. So A is 150 before, so it's now going to add the value of B inside A. So it will not be what? B is what? The value of B is what? 15. To now add 15 inside A. 15 plus 150 to now give you 165. So just know the difference. This one overwrites the value of A, but this one add something to what is present in A. That's the difference. This one will overwrite what's inside the BA. A is 150 before, so this one is not going to overwrite A. It will not overwrite A with B. It will not be 15. A will not be 15. But if you put this sign, the AND assignment is trying to say that B is going to be add with the original value that is present in A. So the original value that is present in A is 150. So B is now going to add to that value. It will now be what? 165. So if you now ask it to echo A, it will now echo 165. So let's see our result. Can you see? 165. So we subtract this one now, since this one adds to the value of A now, So this one now, when you use subtract is equal to use subtract and assignment, is going to subtract the value of that second one inside the first one. So that's just the look at it like this one now. C is equal to C plus A, so it will add it. This one now will be subtract the value. So if I use negative here now, let's say I use the subtract and assignment, I use minus, so it's going to subtract this 15 inside A and store it inside A. So that is going to subtract the value of B inside A and echo that on the new value. So that means 15 minus 150 will now be the new value of A. Will now be the new value of A. 15 minus 150 will now 150 minus 15 will now be new value of A. Can you see 135? So we have to multiply. This one will be multiply it. We have to divide the modulus. So just practice all these things one by one and see the results. So another thing that we have is the conditional operator. There is one more operator called the conditional operator. This first evaluates an expression for a true or false value and then executes one of the two given statements depending upon the result of the evaluation. The conditional operation has this syntax. This is a conditional operation. That's this syntax. So for the case of theory, please just go through this content so that you have much knowledge about what we are trying to explain. So I believe I've already explained all these if and else statements. I've already made use of them when we are dealing with the conditional statement. I've explained it in that process when we are dealing with the conditional statement. That let's say we say if $A is equals to $B, if this statement is true, you run this statement, or else if the statement is not true, you run this. But like this statement now is not true because A is not equals to B, and it's going to run this. So that's just like the if and else statement. I believe I've explained all this. So for the case of theory, please just go through this PDF so that you have more knowledge. I believe I've explained all this. Look at this thing now. So this is just where we use the dates. Date is an implicit data types. So this is where you just use the dates. So we now say if the date is not equals to Friday, if date is equals to Friday, so you should echo have a nice weekend, else you should echo this. So that's just about that. So for the case of theory, please just copy this code, and you may not understand. Look at this code now. Let's just try this example right now. Normally this is the only, they said $D equals to date. Look at it, they said $D equals to date. Whenever you use dates in PHP, dates, as you see it, this is a function, is an implicit function. What do you mean by a function? A function that you don't need to declare. It's already, the date function is already, it already comes with PHP. As what I mean is that when you say date condition, it's already okay. Let's see what this one will echo now. Let's see what we echo. Let's say echo. Normally we have stored the value of dates inside $D. Let's see what $D will echo. Sunday. It's because today is Sunday. That's why you see sun. So you see that inside our function, it takes a parameter. What is parameter that I take? Capital letter D. This capital letter D simplify what? The day. If I want the month to come out, I'll just press M here. So month will come out now. Let me rephrase this. Month will come out. This is March. That's why you see MAR. It's March. If I want, I've talked about the day, the month. Let me say T, capital letter T. Can you see? Month, date, time. So what I'm just trying to say in essence is this. This date is a function that is an inbuilt function in PHP. You don't need to declare it. It already comes. So all you just need to do is, in case maybe you want to write an application that you want the day, as users are opening the web page, you want them to be seeing the day. Maybe they should be seeing that Sunday, they should be seeing Monday, Tuesday. All you just need to do is just put capital letter D here. So as your users is logging in, they are going to see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on the day in which you log into your site. So this is how you write the code. You just say date, the function of the date, then it will take in the parameter. It can be capital letter D or capital letter M in case you want month to be coming out. So right now what they did is just the same thing. They just say dates, they use day. They now save the day with what? $D. They now say if normally we know that today is Sunday, that's why we have SUN, sun. Now say if $D is equals to, I've told you that whenever you want to use comparison, you make use of W is equals to comparison operator, is equals to sun. You should run this line of code. If the statement is true, you say today is Sunday. Today is Sunday. Else, if the statement is not true, you say echo please try again. Because today is Sunday now, because the normal day that I am right now is Sunday, then that means this statement is true. Then what I'm going to say, I'm going to say today is Sunday. So let me save this. Let me refresh my page. I will see today is Sunday. Can you see? Today is Sunday, because the normal date is Sunday. But if I want people to be able to see the day in my program, I don't have to use the conditional statement. All I will just do is I will just say date, put it in D, and then I will save it with a variable called $D, and I will ask you to echo $D. So as users is viewing my web page, as they are viewing my web page, if they are in Monday, if the time is Monday, they will see Monday on their web page. Somebody that viewed the second day will see Tuesday. Somebody that viewed the next day will see Wednesday. So it depends on the day in which they have, maybe Monday, Tuesday to Sunday. So as users is viewing my web page, they will keep on seeing the real time. Let me refresh this. You will still see sun, because today is Sunday. So any user that visits this page throughout today, they will be seeing Sunday. So any user that visited tomorrow will be what? Will be Monday. They will start seeing Monday. So that's just about the time, the dates in PHP. It's an inbuilt function. So we don't have to declare it again. It's already inbuilt in your system, it's already an inbuilt function. So just make use of it. So look at what happened right now. They said $D equals to date. Now say if $D equals to Friday, if the present date of that person that is viewing the application, if that current date is Friday, truly, if this statement is true, then what you have this line of code today run. Else if the statement is not true, you have this have a nice day. So the same thing happens here. So have a nice weekend, have a nice day. So if this statement is true, you are going to have this. So this is just telling you about the if statement. Another statement that we have is else if statements. In case you have, like right now we only have one condition. We have if $D is equals to Friday, is equals to Friday, you say have a nice day. Else we only have one condition. So the condition just have an else statement. That's it. If this condition is not true, it have an else statement. But in case that we have more than one condition, like this example now, look at it, we have more than one condition. We first use the first one. If $D equals to Friday, you should say have a nice day. Else if $D equals to Sunday, you should say have a nice Sunday. Else, that's when we now use else. So if you want to have another condition apart from the first one, if you just have only one condition, that if tomato is equals to this thing, then after this sign you can now use else. But in case you have a lot of condition, you can just be inputting else if. You can be inputting else if. Then at the end, when we get to the last statement, you can now make use of else. So look at this condition now. They said if $D equals to Friday, you say have a nice weekend. Else if $D equals to Sunday, they say have a nice Sunday. I can say else if $D is equals to Monday, have a nice Monday. Else if $D equals to, I can be doing like that up to the last extent. I will now say else. I can now say have a nice day. So the else if is just used when you have more than one statement. Like the one we have been doing, the example that we have been doing previously, we only have one statement, this statement. So it's just that we want it to run another code, and we want it to run another block of code if this statement is not correct. That's why we are making use of else statements. We only have one statement, which is this. But if this is not correct, then we are going to have, it's going to run this. But in case you want to have more than one statement, you can have them if, but you can't have if again. You will now have else if. You only have if at the top. Then in case you have more than one statement, you can have else if. But when you now know that it now remains one to finish, then that last one you now name it what? Else. So that means else if we still want to have a lot of conditions, else if can be in between if and else statement. So we just have else if any number of times that you wish, but just follow the pattern. Look at this pattern. Look at the pattern that we have here, the else if. So if I still want to copy another else if, all I just need to do is, let me copy this thing, copy this code. So I will show you what I'm trying to talk about. Look at this now. You have else if now. In case I want to do another thing now, I will just add this else if. I can add it to infinity. Then I will just change all this parameter. I can change this to Monday. None. I can say have a nice Monday. I can change this to Tuesday. So you can have as many else if, but the last one must end with what? Else. And the first must start with what? With if. Then what is inside this, the if and the else, will now be else if. You can have multiple, you can have as many else if. In case you want to have as many statements. But if you are having only one statement, just make use of if and your else, the if and else. So for the case of theory, please just go through this material. I believe you have much knowledge about it. So another thing that we are going to talk about is the switch statement. The switch statement works in an unusual way. First, it evaluates given expression, then seek a label to match the resulting value. If you know your normal if, else statement, if you know them very well, then there is no reason whereby you'll be using a switch statement. Switch statement is just another way of doing what a if else statement can do. So if you know a if statement, you can also, whatever somebody can do with a switch statement, you yourself can also do it with if or else if statement. So that's just about that. So we have example of it. Let me just run an example of the switch statement, like this program that we wrote now. Let me just run the example for you and see how it works. We can also arrive at the same thing, making use of if statement. So let's just run this code and see what will happen. Normally we know that today is what? Look at this now. The normal thing we did, I've told you that today is Sunday, my normal time, Sunday. So what we are expecting here, when they use d as a parameter for date function, is sun. So we know today is Sunday. So case sun. Normally this is the result you are going to have. Today is Sunday. This is what the result you are going to have. So this is just switch and case statement. What we did is we use switch. Our switch is what? $D. So what is inside this place is sun. So wherever it matched any of the case, whatever is there in the result is now what is going to print out. That's the meaning. So whatever you want to play, it's just like if and if statement. When you say if kinikon is equals to this so thing, so right now if is the same thing as if statement, this switch and case statement. So what we are trying to say is that if this, let's say this switch now is the same thing as if $D, which is the same thing as sun, is equals to sun, you should print this out. That's the meaning. So what happens is, irrespective of whether you use a switch case statement and or use if else statement, irrespective of whichever one you use, just know that you will still have the same result. So I believe you can use the normal if else statement to write this particular code and it will still give us the same output. Just note, when you use switch statement, the something we are trying to compare is going to be in between the switch. Then what you are comparing it with will be inside case. So everything after this case, can you see the way I declare the case? The case, the value of that particular thing and a semicolon as in this particular sign. So if this now, if it match what is inside this case, is going to print this out, echo this. But since it does not match, it's break, it's jump to the next one. It does not match, jump up to this place, it matches here. $D is already saved with sun. But I told you that the normal date is Sunday. Since sun has matched what is inside this case, sun, since sun is equal to what is inside the sun, then that is why you are able to have this. So this thing also, you can, let me say this, what you have here now, you can also, as well as, you see today is, can I say today is Sunday, so you can still make use of if else statement to arrive at this. So this is just about the, so another thing that we have is the for statement. Is the for statement. Another thing that we have is the for statement. So here now we said a equals to 0 and we said b equals to 0. When I say for I equals to 0, comma I is lesser than 5, then I plus plus. This is the example of what I'm trying to talk about. I believe I have explained the increments. So I will keep on increasing until it goes to lesser than 5. And what is that? 4. And then the I will start from 0 and I will end at what? At 4. That's just the meaning. Then here now we now say $a plus is equals to 10. So that means 10 will now be adding up to, as that thing is, so let's do this something. Let me echo the value of $i for you to see. $i will not be what? It start from 0. It will end at what? Because you said I is lesser than 5 and you have used I plus plus. I plus plus means increment of I will continue to increase up till it is, I will continue to increase from the value of 0 up till you get to where is lesser than 5, where is closer to 5, and where is that? At 4. To stop at 4. But you said $i is lesser than 5, so that would be 4. So let's run this and see what will happen. So I have echo I so that you see the results. And can you see 0 to what? To 4. It will start from 0 to 8. So if you change this thing to 10, if you change to I is lesser than 10 up to 10, it will count up to 9. Let me comment this line so that it will not display. I told you that the singular comment is double slash, so this line will not display here. Can you see 0 to 9? So that's just about the for the looping when we are trying to loop. So let's now run the program. I believe I have told you what AND assignment is. When you are trying to, when you use AND assignment, then what you are trying to say is this: $a plus is equals to 10. Then that means we want to add 10 to our $a. So we want to add 10 to our $a. Our $a before is what? Is 0. When I is equals to 0, 10 be added to $a, which is 0. Then we have, let me run it so that you see what I'm trying to talk about. An error. Let me use the so that it won't be too long. The looping will not be too long. And the end of the loop, a equals to 15 and b equals to 25. What did I do? You know, I've told you that I will increase from 0 to 4. So I will be 1, 2, 3, 4. It will be 0 to up to 4 here. So this is our I. So that means I will be in how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times. To start from 0, it will be 5 times. 0, 1, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So that means it will be 5 times. So that means $a now at the initial value is 0. When I will go to the first one, that is, it will go to the first, which is 0, to start from 0. At that point, when I is equal to 0, 10 will be added to a, then our a will be what? Will be 10. When I is equals to 1, 10 will be added to what is in a before, and what is being used is 10. 10 plus 10, 20. When I equals to this, 10 plus 20, 30. When I equals to 3, 10 plus 30, 40. When I equals to 4, 10 plus 40, 50. That's why you have a as 50. A as 50. Then b also will do the same thing. Then b, when it's up to this extent, it will be 20. 25, sorry, that times 5 is 25. That's why you have 25. So right now we now print out the result. We now say at the end of the loop, a is equals to $a and b equals to $b. So just go through this right up so that you understand what I'm trying to talk about. If you understand what we refer to as the AND operator, I believe that will not be difficult for you to understand. As in, what happens here will not be difficult to understand. So we have the while loops. I believe you can, let me just run it fast so that you understand what we are trying to do here. So just get manual. This is the while loop. Because time is already going. Just get manual that we. I see. This is the while loop. So just go through our manual. So I believe our manual, by the time you go to the write-up, you'll be able to understand what we did and how we did it. Or you can also consult Google for a list of operators, decision making, and loops, especially the loops aspect in PHP. You can just search Google and look at it. By the time I go to google.com, I can search PHP loop. So a lot of, when you talk about the for loop, the while loop, the do loops, so I believe you can you see the PHP loops for W3 schools. So I believe you can get materials on PHP loops on Google. Can you see? This is the for loops that we just do right now. So you have a lot of, you'll be able to understand it better. So you can, I believe when you are learning in Ewebtutor, you can consult Google or any other site that you are aware of, so that you have much knowledge about what we are trying to talk about. But I believe if we go through our PDF materials, you should be able to understand what we are trying to talk about. Then you go through the write-ups. But if you didn't still understand what we are trying to pass across, so you can just consult Google. You can search on the particular topic you are, search for manuals on it, and go through whatever programs you are given. So thank you for being there. Bye.